Being a former Note series user, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 has been an eye-opener in many ways. It's built on many of the same things that made the Note series so brilliant, but after a month of usage, there are several things that I've learned about the Z Fold 3 that might put some of you off it. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the Galaxy Z Fold 3 Phantom Green Edition. What's up guys, welcome back to Tech It Easy. So the Galaxy Z Fold 3, I've got one right here in Phantom Green, and I want to start off by saying that the Phantom Green colour isn't actually all that green. In fact, I was actually convinced that I'd been given the black version by accident, but it turns out when you get outside, it is the Phantom Green version. So if you're sat here wondering that why does that look like the black version, it doesn't sometimes show up in certain light on the camera. Anyway, if you do want to get your hands on a Galaxy Z Fold 3, it's going to set you back around £1,600 or £1,700 if you go for the 512GB version. That's around $1,800 if you're in the US, so yeah, a very expensive phone. I would definitely recommend making the most of Samsung's trade-in offers here. That's most likely going to be your best route. Or you can subscribe to my channel and check out my upcoming video on how to afford your tech. Being a small YouTuber, I buy pretty much everything from cameras to lighting, smartwatches, phones, you name it. Pretty much all of it is bought out of my own pocket at the moment. So it's really important that I find the best deals for my tech, and I will be sharing all my top tips in an upcoming video, so hit the subscribe button. Anyway, despite the extremely high price tag, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 does look and feel like a slice of the future. Unfolded, the phone feels really nice and slim, and surprisingly, it's very easy to hold. In fact, I'd go as far as saying that it's the perfect size for a folding phone without getting too silly. Many would argue that if you're making a folding phone, you might as well make it a bit bigger, and I for one shared that notion at first. But after using it, I think it's actually the perfect size, as you can hold it in one hand, both folded and unfolded. That all being said, folded up, it's essentially a small brick. You could do some serious damage if you drop this one on your face at night. Then there's a cover display, beautiful in the sense that it's bright, vibrant, and has that 120Hz that the inner display also shares, but the aspect ratio is just so weird. You certainly get used to it with time, but one thing I can't get used to is typing. The narrow screen really does cause me to make a lot of typos. Yes, I could fold out the display and type, but that's just not convenient when you're on the go, and you don't really want to be walking down the street with your Galaxy Z Fold 3 unfolded trying to text. While we're talking displays, how has the inner display held up over a month? Obviously, there's all these warnings about not pressing too hard, don't use fingernails, don't remove the screen protector, blah 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 blah. Actually, it's been fine. I've almost stopped worrying about it. I certainly take more care than I would with, say, a normal phone, but yeah, I don't find myself being too scared to use it. It works great with the S Pen, which can't be stored in the Fold 3 by the way, and yeah, it's just been a delight really. It's been the perfect companion for me since I started commuting again, great for media consumption, and actually great for productivity too. One big issue I'm finding though is dust. So the Galaxy Fold 3 is water resistant but not dust resistant. I've had this for over a month now, and I'm convinced there's dust either in the hinge or under the screen. When I unfold the phone, I hear this unpleasant sound which sounds a bit like there's something stuck underneath it. Although I haven't noticed any issues on the screen yet, it is worrying me a lot actually, since this has happened over just a month of usage. So what's it going to be like in 3 months, 6 months, or even a year? Watch this space. Now, moving on, these days when we talk about phones, it's very easy to forget what a phone is actually meant for, with all these big features. So let's take a look at the basics and talk about how taking calls and general practicality of having such a big phone works in the real world. Now, surprisingly, although this thing is huge, it feels okay when you're on the phone for a long time. Certainly noticeably heavier than say the Note 10 I was using prior to getting this phone, but fine nonetheless. Where I do have an issue is holding the phone whilst it has its case on. I think without the case, the Fold 3 is big, but just small enough to not be a problem. As soon as you put the case on, you sort of cross that line, and being on the phone for a while can get a little bit uncomfortable, not to mention it barely fits in your pocket afterwards. If you can forget about all that though, then call quality is fine as you might expect, and that's from the feedback I've had from family and friends, so Samsung have got the basics covered. Next topic, an area for concern on the Galaxy Fold 3 when it was announced was the camera module. Now, everyone was saying that it was tiny and lackluster in comparison to current flagship phones, and they wouldn't be wrong. I agree that this being Samsung's most expensive consumer device, I kind of expected the latest in camera technology. But as I mentioned in my unboxing video, when we compare it to the Note 10 Plus from a couple of years ago, you can certainly see a huge difference just in the size alone. And the Note 10 Plus at the time was considered to have a great camera setup. I actually don't think the camera quality is a big issue here though. I think it's actually using the camera where you might struggle. For example, with the aspect ratio on the front screen looking a little bit funny, taking photos can be a bit awkward and it just doesn't feel right. Yes, you can unfold and do it that way if you please, but who wants to take a picture like that? That'd be like taking a picture on a tablet. Additionally, you can say goodbye to gimbal compatibility. I'm doubtful there will be any gimbals at the moment that can support a folding phone and work correctly. That all in mind though, let's take a quick look at some of the photos I've taken and also take a look at the video recording capabilities. So these are the photos I took using various different lenses. Instantly, something that's standing out to me is the sharpening. I think it goes way overboard with that and can actually make photos look worse. Then there's the vibrance. If you're just wanting a quick photo out of it, it's just fine. But from a more professional point of view, it's going overboard again. I personally wouldn't have minded some more raw looking photos so I can jazz them up myself. Despite this though, there are noticeable improvements over my Note 10 Plus in terms of camera quality. The big ones really shine through though in the video recording capabilities. We now have 4K 60fps, much like we did on the Note 10 Plus, but this time it will allow you to use your stabilizer, something I couldn't do previously on the Note 10. And personally, I think it does a fantastic job and possibly eliminates the need for a gimbal. Various zoom lenses also do a great job. Wide angle lens looks fantastic, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the macro capabilities of this phone. You can get pretty close up without losing any detail and photos look absolutely great. What I'm saying is, this phone does not have a terrible camera. It's good, it's just not what we really expected on Samsung's flagship phone, and I'm not sure if that's okay or not. Now let's move away from the cameras and talk about software. We're currently running One UI 3.1.1 over the top of Android 11, and honestly it's been probably the best mobile experience I've had in a while. Everything is super smooth, absolutely no performance issues, I've never experienced any overheating, and the way the software has been designed to work with the Galaxy Z Fold 3 makes productivity just that little bit more fun, and this is where having a folding phone really does feel special. Of course, we have had split screen modes on the Note 20 and the Note 10 and some other phones, but they were features I rarely found myself using. Now though, I use them daily. I can watch YouTube and have enough space to do some scripting at the same time. I can check my calendar and send an email at the same time. I can open 2 banking apps, you name it, it's honestly been amazing for me. The way you can organise, rearrange and pop out apps into their own windows feels much like a mini PC in your hand, all of which can be made better with Samsung DeX, which I do fully intend on doing a dedicated video about, so if you haven't subscribed already and want to help a little tech YouTuber out, please do go ahead and do just that. I'm sure you won't regret it. Now, my biggest upset with this phone is the battery life. Admittedly, I am using the 120Hz on both the inner and outer displays, but even with that in mind, I find it difficult to praise the Fold 3's battery life in any sort of way. My initial thoughts were, well, of course it's going to go through more battery life than your average phone, this thing is huge, but for that very same reason I asked myself, why couldn't they have fit more battery life into this phone considering its size? It's something I find myself worrying about every day. Usually on a working day, the battery is at around 30% by the end of my lunch break, which is super annoying. I will reiterate that switching back to 60Hz would help my situation here, giving up to 8 hours of battery life, but I just can't do it. Going back to 60Hz just makes the phone feel horrible. Let me know your thoughts on the matter. Does the screen refresh rate make a difference to your experience, and is it something you could do without if it meant saving a bit more battery life? So I could talk for an absolute age about the Galaxy Z Fold 3, but I really don't want to bore you, so I'm going to start to sum it up nice and quickly for you. I really do think foldable phones are the future. The only thing that I can think of that will possibly overtake them is rollable phones, purely for practicality and durability reasons. That being said, foldable phones are unique in the sense that you're probably never going to get as big as a foldable phone. I feel like rollable phones are going to have their limitations. With all that in mind, here are 5 things that I think could be improved on the next version of the Fold, and 5 things that I absolutely love about the Galaxy Fold 3. First up, the crease that needs to go. Samsung are behind on this one. Other manufacturers have already managed to get rid of it, so I would hope on the Fold 4 it can be completely removed. Second point of call is dust resistance. At the moment it is water resistant as I mentioned, but no dust. And I really want to be able to take this phone absolutely everywhere without having to worry about it, so this is something that I hope on the next version will be fixed. Third point, the cover display needs to be slightly larger. Yes, we would be at risk of making the phone too big, but it's already a pretty big phone. Anyone buying this phone would most likely be prepared to go a little bit bigger. Number 4 is find a way to incorporate the S Pen into the Fold design. Yes, we have cases that can hold the S Pen, but they're just adding more bulk and making an already big phone even bigger. I do have the S Pen for the Fold 3, but found that I don't really use it anywhere near as much as I did on my Note 10 Plus, so just some food for thought for you there. Finally, my 5th and final critique, the battery life needs some serious work. As mentioned, because of the larger design, I kinda hoped I would have got more battery life out of the Fold 3, but obviously that's not the case here. Upping the battery life would really make this phone the perfect phone. It's not all bad with the Galaxy Fold 3 though. Here's 5 things that I love about the Z Fold 3. First off, the inner display. It might seem obvious, but it really is gorgeous. It's been amazing for games, movies, typing up documents, and it's super bright and punchy. It just feels right. Amazing for media consumption and probably my all-time favorite thing about the Fold 3. Second is the design of the phone. I think without the case, it actually feels quite slim. Still much larger than your normal phone, but a lot slimmer than I was expecting. Whilst on the design, I can also appreciate the material used here. It looks really smart and quite a premium device. Number 3, going hand in hand with the impressive display, Samsung have opted for some dual speakers in the Fold 3. They get really loud and punchy, and I have to agree with what Shane Simmons said in his Fold 3 review, and that's that they are probably better than your average Samsung laptop. Number 4, performance. This phone can pretty much handle anything you throw at it. As mentioned previously, it's a beast for productivity. Handling multiple apps at the same time has been no issue. The UI and OS is really fluid and responsive, all made possible by the Snapdragon 888 chip and the impressive 12GB of RAM. Number 5, although I have made some complaints about the overall durability of the Z Fold 3, in comparison to the previous Fold models, I really can appreciate the water resistance on this one. I think if it didn't have that, it would be a game changer, and I probably wouldn't be making this review right now. So those were 5 quick things that I loved and think needed improving on the Galaxy Z Fold 3. But should you buy one? Well, I'm going to try a new scoring system here. That is, buy it, shortlist it, consider it, or ignore it. It goes without saying that the Fold 3 is very much for a certain type of person. It's not for beachgoers, it's not for people who will be going to festivals, clubbing, etc, etc, at least not in my opinion. This is a phone for workaholics, commuters, business owners, people who are on the go 24/7 who can really take advantage of the use cases of the Fold 3. I'm absolutely not saying that if you don't fall into one of those categories, don't buy it. I'm just saying that with it being such an expensive and still arguably fragile phone, you really do need to consider whether it will fit into your lifestyle or not. So with all that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and say shortlist this one. I can't go ahead and say buy it, as there's a lot of flaws compared to your regular phone that Samsung haven't quite worked out with the Fold 3. But in comparison to other foldable phones phones on the market and their previous versions, I think it's made leaps and bounds since its last version. As always, let me know down below your thoughts on the Galaxy Z Fold 3. If you already own one, please do let me know and share your thoughts with the rest of the community. You can do that in the comment section or in the Discord server. There will be a link down below. Also, please consider clicking the real subscribe button, which is of course the bell icon, so you don't miss any new videos from Tech It Easy. For now though, I've been Alex, this has been Tech It Easy, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.